welcome to FM Corner. I'm Danny Kunch, Director of Relationship Management for WCE. Today we're going to talk about a subject called Teach Your Customer. You might say, well, the customer is always right. So what kind of teaching is that? Well, customer is most of the time right. But in this case, there are opportunities for you to teach information and lessons to your customer that will help them and help your relationship as you go forward. Especially as a vendor. If you're a vendor working for a facility manager, restaurateur, how can you teach? Two different ways. First and foremost, if you see something going on in the restaurants, there is a way to pass that information along to them and let them know if it's being done the wrong way, if maybe there's a problem with the original installation, something like that, and show them what could be done instead. You may help them save money over time because, again, they may be paying you today to come and see the same thing over and over. And you're showing what a good partner you are by helping them out and showing them something that needs to be corrected. The other way in which you can do it is to let them understand and know about your business and things that you do. In other words, how many times as a vendor have you heard, well, I placed my call first thing this morning at 7 o'clock. Why am I not being taken care of first? Well, you can explain to them how a dispatch board works. There are calls left over from the day before that came in late in the afternoon or weren't able to be addressed that particular day. They moved to the front for the following morning. So just because you called first, that doesn't mean it's going to be the first call that's going to be done. There are calls from the day before. You as a restaurateur have probably been on both sides of that. The other thing is explain to them and take the time to say how calls are done when they're really busy. Say in the summer and hot climates. What is the pecking order for what is done? Is it HVAC calls first? Water heater calls if you're doing plumbing? How does it work down the line so that you understand what the priorities are? Because the worst thing that happens is you say yes to everything and then you don't show up, or you can't get to the call and a customer loses an opportunity to get something fixed. So explain to them how it works, what the delegation is, things like that as you go along. Take the time to explain to them how warranty works. You are contacted as a service agent. You go out and perform service. If, for instance, you didn't find anything wrong with the unit when you were there, you turn that in to the manufacturer. They may not approve that as a warranty call. If they don't, you as the vendor are supposed to bill it back to the customer. Take the time to explain that. Many people don't necessarily know. To your really good customers, you say you're working on parts. Are you working on markup or you're working on margin? Which way do you do it? Explain that to the customer so they know. Explain how callbacks are taken care of. Explain when warranty starts and when it stops. Both of those are great ways that you can show and teach a little bit about your company and how things are handled. Why a PM tech is not allowed necessarily to work on a piece of equipment. They're only there to do the preventive maintenance on it and explain the reasons why. Those items that you can let customers know, give them better insight into what you're doing. You're very transparent and may help save you some calls and some issues down the line. If you're on the other side of this coin and you're the facility manager, teaching your customers normally operations, same kind of thing. Part one is explaining things they may be doing or things they don't realize that is causing them to have unnecessary repairs. Take the time to show them. Don't do this instead. May help them save money on their P&L in future because they know what goes on. Or a little checklist of, check the plug, check is the light turned on, is this done, is this done? Little things like that maybe they could check before they place a service call and save themselves some money. The other thing to do is talk about downtime, how things go down, what the typical service line is, what is an emergency versus what's not. That's really important to teach to your operators because to them, everything's an emergency. The downside of that is If every call a particular restaurant ever makes is declared an emergency, pretty soon nothing is an emergency. So explain to them how that works and what needs to be done. If they were calling in for a true emergency, they don't want someone else who has a regular service call but declared it as emergency getting preference over their call. It works both ways. So explain to them how that piece works and so on to teach them. Show them about a budget. Show them how here's the amount of money facilities has if facilities is responsible for R&M and how that divides up among locations. And then show them that a restaurant between 5 and 10 years typically has X more repairs than a restaurant 1 to 5. Let them know that. Explain what lease options are when the lease comes up. You have options. Here's what's done. Here's the criteria that goes into that. How is capital expense handled in your particular company? What is the criteria? Explain that to them, how that works, that something that is a major repair, a major redo can be considered capital expense, and other times it's not. Take the time to go through that with them and let them know. So whether you're a facility manager and you're teaching your customer, which is operations, or you're a vendor who typically your customer is a facility manager group, take the time to talk about your company, your items that fall under your umbrella, and teach them. It will help them down the road as a better way to understand what is going on when problems or issues develop. Sometimes they'll go, hey, I remember that. Someone has explained it to me in the past. Teaching your customer goes a long way, either side. It builds that partnership. It builds the ability that you're working together to succeed and an understanding of what roles and responsibilities are on each side. And as I've said many times before, when you understand the other person's business, it makes it a lot easier to work towards solutions. That's our episode for today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Remember, advice is always free at FM Corner. We look forward to speaking with you again next week.